AMANA Voice, the voice of trust. Brought to you by the American Muslim Association of North America. Each and every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Each week we will bring to you issues confronting our community. Join us this Sunday at 6 p.m. for AMANA Voice, the voice of trust. Brought to you by your Muslim neighbors on WTPS 1080 AM, the People's Station.
News Talk 1080 AM WTPS, Coral Gables, Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Palm Beaches. The People's Station.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Owner of the Day of Judgment. Thee alone we worship, Thee alone we ask for help. Show us the straight path, the path of those whom Thou hast favored, not the path of those who earn Thine anger, nor of those who go astray.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We begin in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praises and glory is due to Allah, God, Lord of the worlds. We seek refuge in Allah from Shaitan, Satan the rejected. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon each and every one of you tonight. My name is Brother Kamal, and I'd like to welcome you once more to Al-Amana, the voice of trust, brought to you by the American Muslim Association of North America. Tonight, inshallah, we would like to discuss the topic of domestic violence. But before we get into the topic tonight, we would like to ask our brother Sufyan Zarkut, the director of Amana, to address us. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sufyan. How are you doing?
Assalamu wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear listener, good evenings. This is Sufyan Abdulaziz Zakut, the director of AMANA, the American Muslim Association of North America. We have this evening a good program for you. Today's program is related to the last week program, by the way. Last week, whoever listened to it, it was about the violence among our youth. Today, God willing, we're going to give the program about domestic violence, which is actually related to last week program. And we have a professional members from the Islamic community tonight to bring you solutions and how to deal with domestic violence. As you, most of you know, at Amana radio program, we always bring you issues can help you and can help your family, and that will affect our community. And the healthier your community, the healthier our society. It will be a good program today. Please stick around. Now with Brother Kamal.
Thank you very much, Brother Sufyan. As I mentioned before, tonight we will be discussing the topic of domestic violence. And one of the most serious, widespread social disease which affect the fabric of the American society is domestic violence. Tonight we will like to discuss what are the main causes of domestic violence, what are the effects of domestic violence, how can domestic violence be prevented? If you find yourself in a situation involving domestic violence, whether you are the aggressor or the victim, what can you do? We would also like to talk about who you can turn to for help, and the punishment according to the law, and other basic questions we may have tonight. If you would like to call in, I'd like to give out the numbers. You can join us in our program when any, if you'd like to discuss with our panel of experts here tonight. If you have any questions, any comments, 1-877-825-1080. That's 1-877-825-1080. And let me introduce my panel of guests tonight. We have on my right Dr. Shatta. She's back with us this evening. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome again. Next to her, we have O.C. Fryer. I'd like to welcome you, O.C. And back with us, joining this program, we have Sister Charlotte Shaheed. Assalamu alaikum, Charlotte, and welcome once more to our program.
Thank you.
And next to her, on my left, we have Sister Aliyah Parsha. Assalamu alaikum, Sister. Did I pronounce the name properly, Sister?
Aliyah Pasha.
Pasha,
Wa
I'm
alaikum
sorry.
assalam. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, just keep the mic and just give us a brief introduction to our listeners about yourself and what type of job you're involved with.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm a social worker and I work in the field of addiction. And in this area of domestic violence, we have many, many people who come through our doors seeking help for addiction, who are also victims of domestic violence, and also who are those causing this problem, who are the batterers themselves.
Sister Charlotte.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I do not work directly with domestic violence problems. I was invited here this evening to speak in general about the Islamic perspective on domestic violence and women, their rights and their privileges, and how Islam views the woman.
Okay, Sister Osi.
Well, I work for Miami-Dade County Advocates for Victims Safe Space Shelter. Safe Space is a shelter for battered women and their children, and I am the shelter administrator there.
And Dr. Shatta.
Yes, I'm Shada Atiya. I'm doctor in clinical psychology, and I have my private practice in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, I'd like to start with Sister Osi. We hear a lot about domestic violence, but there is a definition for domestic violence, and I'd like for you to define for us what that definition is.
Okay, I am going to give you the legal definition.
The legal definition, yes.
The legal definition for domestic violence is any assault, aggravated assault, battery, aggravated battery, sexual assault, sexual battery, stalking, aggravated stalking, or any criminal offense resulting in physical injury or death of one family or household member by another family or household member who is residing in the same single dwelling.
That's important, residing in the same single dwelling, yes.
However, I would like to give what we call the social definition of domestic violence. And this refers to behavior of power and control used by one person against another in an intimate or family relationship. And domestic violence can be separated into various categories, mainly physical, sexual, and emotional. And I think most people can identify with that definition, even though the legal definition is the one that our courts and our police department operates from.
The second definition seems to be a little bit more prominent.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It's the social definition which most abused women can identify with.
Yes. Dr. Shatta?
Yes, I would like to add that there is an issue of also power and control. So beside the physical abuse or the emotional abuse, there is the power that the abuser that he practice and try to control the victim, whether it's financial, whether it's a relationship, alienating her from family, friends. So that's very important too.
All right, now I think the next step is for us to understand the problems dealing with domestic violence is some of the statistics that is involved with domestic violence. OC, can you help us out? Give us some of the statistics.
Well, one of the main statistics, and I usually don't talk a lot about statistics, but one of the main statistics that I think it's very important to talk about is the fact that every 9 seconds a woman is abused in the United States. And 1 out of 4 women in the United States has been assaulted by an intimate partner.
You did say 9 seconds, didn't you?
Every 9 seconds a woman is
Wow.
abused. And 78% of the rapes in this country involve persons that the victims know. So that's a major. And one of the other statistics from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is that in Florida we had 120,386 domestic violence incidents in 2005.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, what are the demographics? If you were to go into the racial aspect of it, what race of people are most likely to be involved in domestic violence? Do you have that information? Or
yeah, I'm sure all of my co-panelists would agree that domestic violence crosses every ethnic
lines.
Cultural, social, religious line.
That means it's not only with the Arabs or Muslims, or everybody have this almost same ratio. Almost,
Yes.
yeah.
Domestic violence cross all cultural lines, religious lines, educational lines,
yes,
social.
yeah. Now, Dr. Shatta, I'd like to ask you, why do you think in your line of work that domestic violence is so prominent? The sister quoted every 9 seconds, a woman is abused. Can you tell me why?
Why is it prominent?
Yes, why is it so prominent?
Well, usually an abuser learned that behavior from an early age. So children who have been abused, they learn to be abusers when they grow up. And that's why it's really important to start early on to teach our children what is respect, that violence is not tolerated in a relationship. How do you respect a woman? To model for them a proper behavior in the relationships. So, and there are other elements that also contribute to a person if he lacks the skills of expressing himself in a civil manner, then if he's more likely to be explosive. The abuser also, there are studies shows that abusers have certain traits. It could be a low intelligence level, and that may contribute to learning to express or knowing how to express themselves better. Also, it could be related to substance abuse and alcohol, because that make you lose control sort of on your behavior.
I'd like to go further into some of these topics later on, but let's turn to Sister Aliyah. And I like your take on this. And the sister mentions substance abuse, and I know that's part of your field. I'd like to hear what you have to say about concerning this topic.
Just to add what has been said, certainly addiction in itself. We have many people in treatment who are not only the victims of abuse, but also are the abusers themselves. In terms of some statistics, I have some here. It says about 40% of children from violent homes believe that their fathers had a drinking problem and that they were more abusive when drinking. Another statistic is that 40% of batterers are believed to have had addiction problems. So in dealing with this problem of domestic violence, you have both sides. You have the person as a substance abuse, which triggers, in a lot of cases, the abuse. And you also have, on the other hand, the fact that abusers who who are taking drugs at the time that may cause them not to abuse, because the drugs themselves put them in a state where they're less docile and not abusive. So you'll find, and a lot of times if you have an abusive person in the household, the thing is to keep that person under the influence of drugs or other alcohol so that they won't become abusive to the family.
Now, Sister Aliyah, do you think that the the most common drug abuse is alcohol, from what you've dealt with?
Yeah, because alcohol is a readily accessible drug. It's a legal drug. It's a drug that a lot of young people who just can't wait until they get to a legal age to drink, and uncontrolled drinking in colleges and universities, and there is a real big problem with alcohol addiction in this country.
Yes, I don't know if Sister Charlotte, you want to touch on this topic.
In terms of substance abuse and alcohol being readily available, that's the easiest thing for us to see.
Yes.
Sister Aliyah mentioned that alcohol is a legal drug, and we need to recognize the fact that alcohol is a drug. It's not just a drink like Coca-Cola or Sprite, that soft drink. It's not a soft drink. It's a drug. And we need to deal with it as a drug. And the emphasis in our society seems to be from billboards and whatnot, even from alcohol manufacturers, drink responsibly. But no one defines what responsibly is. And the advertising and promotion for this legal drug is so great, and the one little line, drink responsibly, is often lost. That message doesn't come through. What comes through is, drink this, it'll make you feel good, you can be with your friends, you can have more fun if you drink.
You know what, I like to ask anyone in my panel, this substance abuse, especially dealing with alcohol, and it being something that is so widely acceptable in the society, in Western culture, how do you attack a problem like that? I mean, where do you go to start the awareness of having people know about the dangers of alcohol and what it leads to, the breakup in the family, breakup, in social life in general? I don't know if Dr. Shatta would like to start, and or any of our
before these learned people start to talk about that. I'd just like to make the observation that in domestic violence, when there is alcohol or drug abuse, a lot of times the abuser would like to use that as the excuse for his using violence against his family.
Right.
But that is not, your alcohol abuse or drug abuse does not cause the violence. The violence is there whether you drink or not. So
that's
I
an
just
interesting
need
point.
I need to make that point, that it's there.
Yes. Dr. Shatta?
The tendency is there. Like I mentioned earlier, the lack of skills to deal with this emotion or frustration is there. And unfortunately, many times the victim believe that this abuse happened because he was drunk or because he had some, marijuana or whatever other substance. But it is not only contributed to alcohol.
No, I assume that each one of us have been in marital relations, husband and wife, or early on, I don't know, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. Let's talk a little bit about the problems dealing within a relationship that leads to an abusive relationship. In the beginning, there was love, and although it's dark in the night, the moon is always shining. How, and then sometimes it leads to that abusive relationship. What are some of the indicators, or how can we look at that relationship and tell our listening audience to look at some of the indicators that leads to abusive relationship and then domestic violence?
Well, one of the things, and I think Atia talked about that before, power and control. And that's one of the things that we do when we bring the women, when the women come into the shelter and we talk with them. we talk to them about the whole issue of power and control,
Yes.
and all of the dynamics that go along with that. Isolation. Usually the batterer is going to isolate them from family and friends. Emotional abuse, where they're going to put them down and make them feel less than a person. Economic abuse, sexual abuse, using their children, making the children feel like the mother doesn't know what she's saying or what she's doing, and they're the person in control. Male privilege, threats. All of these things are things that happen in a domestic violence relationship. And usually in a dating relationship, you're going to begin to see some of those things.
Yes.
The control, the manipulation, all of these things happen, and women tend not to focus in on them.
You know that famous saying, they say love is blind. You don't see that.
Yes.
But these are
Yes.
red flags that you have to really
These
pay
are red
attention-
flags,
Red
yes.
flags, yes.
Yes. Now, Dr. Shatta, how do you establish a balanced relationship? How do you go about establishing a balanced relationship? The man knowing or learning that he's not supposed to be over dominant, and vice versa. How do you do that?
Well, a healthy relationship, a balanced
healthy
relationship is a relationship that respect is there's no place for violence. Respect is the ultimate thing. Both husband and wife respect each other, nurture each other, understanding. And if there's any, of course, with every relationship, there's conflict of opinions.
Right.
And when you have a conflict of opinion, then you sit down and communicate in a civil manner. You talk your differences out without being. Once a person knows that he's becoming emotional, and the physiology in your body changes. When your heart starts pounding, your head starts feeling hot, your face change color, then you know you're about to react.
Yes.
That's also, you have to learn to draw back. That's when you learn to stop and pull back and walk away. So a healthy relationship, you have to have that solid basis, of acceptance, of respect, understanding, respecting the boundaries, accepting the growth in each other, and communication.
All right. Now, Sister Charlotte, I'd like to hear, I know that you have prepared some information on the Islamic perspective on relationship. Would you like to tell us a little bit about?
Well, to begin with, Atiya was mentioning all these things, the red flags and what we do, and something struck me on a personal level.
Yes.
In my workplace, I work with early childhood education, preschool teachers. And when I train the teachers, we deal with children who are acting out and are violent in their classrooms, young children, especially the 2-year-olds. We keep saying, the terrible twos. But the key to that links into this is communication. These children are violent. They throw toys. They hit other children because at that age, they don't have the words to express themselves. They can't put into words what they're feeling, so they act it out physically. And that's what I'm hearing on the adult level in terms of domestic violence, that sometimes people aren't able to communicate, and the violence is the way it comes out. And in an Islamic perspective, I have all these notes, but I don't know where to go with them. The thing that occurred to me as she was talking was the Islamic concept of shura, which is consultation.
Yes.
And on a everyday level, I hear of things like family conferences and family meetings. When big decisions are to take place or something new is happening, the family comes together and discuss it, and everyone express their opinion, and they give input. And then the family together decides. Or if it's just a husband and wife, if there's something significant happening that relates to that relationship, the two of them should take shura together and talk about it. It's never a good thing for one member of this dynamic to make a decision without even mentioning it to the other person, communication.
Communications.
I
Yes.
know in Islamic marriages, there are 3 passages from the Quran that are usually read to go with the marriage. And one of them that sticks in my mind is that you should always speak a word directed to the right,
Yes.
so that Allah will make your actions whole and sound, that
Yes,
we
Allah.
should talk to each other. So communication
Yes.
is what we
Yes.
need.
Now, I'd like to ask Sister Aliyah, based on parents that are substance abusers, is it more than likely that the children would also become children of substance abuse in the future?
I would think so, and this is what we see a lot of times in dealing with, especially adolescents who, and younger children, well, adolescents particularly, who come in for treatment. The behaviors that you see are learned behaviors. They're things that they've seen in the household, things that they ascribe to, things that they don't understand. A lot of times when they see them, a new thing is now taking pills. You know, this is the thing. Go in the medicine cabinet. Your mother's taking pain pills. You know now that this is something that's going to make you feel good. So things are readily available and readily accessible to these, especially young teenagers, and they don't understand a lot of times how this is going to affect them in the long run, end up becoming addicted to these alcohol and other drugs. So
Yes.
this is a behavior that's learned and mimicked, I think.
And mimic, yes, it is. All right, our number at the studio is 1-877-825-1080. That's 1-877-825-1080. If you have any questions for our panel tonight on either substance abuse or domestic violence, please call us. Yes, Sister Shala.
I wanted to ask our 2 experts over here, and they make these funny faces when I say that. I would like to know if, in terms of domestic violence, if seeing violence happen in the home is also something that children will imitate as they grow into adults. If they've seen their father batter their mother, or if they've seen in the reverse, the mother giving verbal abuse to the father, putting him down and saying negative things about him, will they imitate that behavior themselves, or will they find something wrong with it and say, I don't want to be like that? Which way do they go?
Well, let me start with witnessing your parent being abused is a form of child abuse. In many states, it has been accepted as a form of child abuse and is punishable. So in a sense, the child is being abused just by witnessing his mother being battered. Now, emotionally or physically, it's an abuse. The children model the behavior, even if they hate it. That's what they learn. Like we just said, they learn this is how you react when you're upset. This is what we do when somebody does something that we didn't like. So your question was exactly what is it?
Will the children imitate the behavior, or
Yes.
will they use that as an example to say that's something I don't want to do?
Yeah. Unfortunately, statistics shows that children who have been abused or witnessing abuse, they grow up to be abusive just because they learned how. They learned that. They didn't learn
Yes.
how to deal with their emotions. This is the only way they express it.
Yes.
Attila is absolutely right. It's normalized. When they grow up in a household where that's all they know, or in their community, that's all they know, it becomes normalized for them, and so they repeat it. A lot of times the young men become abusers and the young women become victims because that's what's been modeled in their households.
Yes.
See, statistics show there are 2 million women every year get abused in the United States. Like we said, of all colors, religions, backgrounds, income. And 60% of the cases of abuse, it also involves the children. It's
Okay.
not only the mother. Unfortunately, there are some, batterers who are women, but there are a much higher number of men batterers.
Okay. Well, can we go on a break now, and then when we come back, we'll start the other session. All right. We'll be on a break. We're going on a break right now, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Voices of South Florida on News Talk 1080 AM WTPS, the People's Station.
AMANA Voice radio program is sponsored by Yahya Trading. All you need from grocery items, wholesale prices. They carry full line of grocery items of over-the-counter medicine, beauty supplies, cleaning products, and hundreds of titles. Yahya Trading provides products to many grocery stores. Yahya Trading is located at 868 Northwest 21 Terrace in Miami. Telephone 305-548-4114. Al-Mambar Arabic Newspaper. Al-Mambar Newspaper March issue is out. Pick up your copy from your local grocery store. For translation services, contact telephone 954-846-9001. Your office for all accounting and taxes services. For all accounting and tax services, contact the office at telephone 305-949-4547. Location in Miami, 1282 Northeast 163rd Street. As-Salam Mediterranean Halal Markets, one of the largest halal market in Florida where you can purchase all you need from Middle Eastern grocery products. You can find a large selection of Islamic books and gift items. As-Salam Mediterranean Halal Market is located at University and Sunrise Boulevard at the northeast corner. Telephone 954-916-6266. Graphic Express and Printing Solutions. If you're looking for a high quality of blueprint scanning and plotting, digital copy center, printing services, typing services, fax and notary, and graphic design, the location in Miami is 16221 Northwest 57th Avenue. Telephone 305-628-3838. American Fire Sprinkler System. For inspections, maintenance, service and design, and installation, contact the American Fire Sprinkler System at telephone 305-628-0100. This message from the Crime Watch of Miami-Dade County. If you need a free copy of the brochure on Youth Crime Watch, call the office at 305-470-1670. Finally, we would like to mention that AMANA offers free copies of translation of the Quran in English, Spanish, or in French. Send your request to AMANA fax number 305-945-0399 or by email to info@al-amana.org. To learn more about AMANA, the American Muslim Association of North America, please visit AMANA website at www.al-amana.org.
News Talk 1080 AM WTPS, the People's Station. You get the last word.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. I'd like to welcome you once more to Al-Amana, the voice of trust, brought to you by the American Muslim Association of North America. My name is Brother Kamal, and we are discussing this evening domestic violence. In our studios tonight, we have Dr. Shatta, O.C. Fryer, Sister Charlotte, and Sister Aliyah with us here. And I would like to start with Sister O.C. about some of her stories that she may have encountered in dealing with people who were involved with domestic violence.
Well, because I work in a shelter, I've been there for 18 years, so I've seen a whole lot. And I guess I'm trying to think of one particular story that's a success story, and I'll go back to the beginning. When I first started, I had an 18-year-old who had 3 children, and her abuser was a substance abuser, and at that point he had actually taken the aluminum from around the windows. He had sold everything in the house, the refrigerator. She didn't have a place to keep her baby's milk cold, and he then began to steal the aluminum from around the windows.
To sell it for money?
For his drugs. So she ended up in the shelter with her kids, and after being there for about 3 or 4 months, because they could stay a little longer during those days, and she was able to get a job. She was able to get daycare for her kids through the shelter's advocacy for her. And I was in touch with her up until probably 6 or 7 years ago. She went back to college. She got a degree. She became a teacher. And I mean, she just warmed my heart. So there are some stories that we have. And the fact that women actually get out of the relationship and don't go back. They might not go to college and get a degree, but they developed a different lifestyle for themselves and their children. So that's a success story.
Yes.
And then, of course, we've had the flip side of that, where we've had a couple of women who have actually ended up being killed by the abuser. So, you know, you in this work every day, you know, it's a struggle trying to make sure that you do all that you can to ensure that someone has a chance to start over again.
That must have given you a lot more courage to continue doing what you do.
Absolutely.
Is the success rate great in the type of work that you do?
Well, it is, because you have a lot more awareness now.
Yes.
You have shows such as this one. You have television. So you have, this is no longer the family secret.
Right.
You know, it's out in the open more, and people are addressing the issue more.
Now, Sister Aliyah, I would like to hear a real life story of success, because the problem with substance abuse, it is a really big problem, and it is serious to get out of addiction, you know.
The story that sticks in my mind is of, once again, a young woman who came for treatment. And upon getting ready to leave treatment, I noticed a lot of anxiety and peeping out of the door to see if anybody was looking. You know, very suspicious behavior, like she didn't want to leave. So, and noticing this behavior, I sat with her and found out through questions that she was afraid to go outside because she feared that the person who had been abusing her would be waiting for her outside to harm her. So, in working with OC's program, we were able to do an assessment by telephone. She was screened by telephone. The police were called, and she was taken to the shelter. She didn't have any children. She was a single female. When dealing with the shelter, they were able to place her in some type of living environment. She was able to come back to treatment after a substantial amount of time of dealing with the battered women's shelter, because what we find sometimes in working with addicted clients, that you have to deal with the immediate need. The addiction may have to wait until you get the person's immediate need met, and her immediate need at that time was not to be abused and not to be a victim. Subsequently, she came back to treatment. She finished treatment, and she was graduated from the program successfully. She was put on a bus. She went on a bus back home. She was able to, rekindle relationship with her family, and she was able to move back home. So that, to me, was a success story.
Wonderful. There is success and there is help out there. That's why we have you here talking about the problems and bringing out in the forefront the solution to some of the problems. Now, one of the topics I'd like to touch on, and one of the brothers mentioned it earlier, is the problem of men blaming women and becoming abusive, and then vice versa. I'd like Dr. Shatar to talk on this topic, please.
Well, we hear that most of the time it's your fault.
It's your fault.
If you didn't do this, I wouldn't have reacted this way. If you didn't say that, it's your fault.
Yes.
And unfortunately, women do believe that. Women, after all this, many years and all the times that they hear it, they believe it. And that's why in many cases you see the abused woman stay in the relationship, because she really down inside, she believes that I was the cause. If I only didn't do this, because I know he hated it, I shouldn't have said that. So, yes, they do blame the woman, and that's part of the control. That's a part of the power and control. And the man does not want to take responsibility for his action. He doesn't want to take responsibility that he is the one who need to pull away when he is losing his temper, that he shouldn't be aggressive. Now, I also wanted to add, as comment to the panel here, unfortunately, abused women, they sometimes fall from one abusive relationship into another. So even if they pull out, if they don't get the help they need, they will fall into similar abusive relationship. And that is because of their tolerance to the abuse. because of their low self-esteem, because they believe that, yes, I am at fault. So they're more accepting than other women who is more self-confident and say, no, I'm not going to accept behavior like that. So women like that, if they don't reach out for counseling, if they don't reach out for help out there, they will unfortunately, will end up being killed or being abused all their lives. So it's really important to emphasize that there is battered woman syndrome with symptoms that a woman display when she is being abused. So and if she doesn't get help and get treatment for that, then
Yes. Osi, you would like to add anything?
Well, I agree. I agree that women have to get help, that we have to get the message out. They have to know that there are places that they can go for help. And one of the places that they can call, if they're, in the state of Florida, they can call the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence hotline. Their number is 1-800-500-1119. Or if they're in Dade County, they can call Safe Space North, which is 305-758-2546, or Safe Space South, 305-247-4249. There are places that they can go for help.
Okay, our number to the studio is 1-877-825-1080. That's 1-877-825-1080. If you have any questions for our panel here this evening, the topic is domestic violence. Please call us up and you can voice your opinion. And one of the real subjects I'd like the panel to touch on is men and women blaming each other for cheating on each other, sexual relations, having a suspicion of one another, and that leads to domestic violence. How do we handle problems of this sort, sister?
Well, suspicion is one of the dynamics that go on in a domestic violence relationship. Oftentimes, abusers will accuse the woman of being unfaithful when, in essence, that's not true.
True, yes.
But there are times when the man is unfaithful to his wife, or the wife is unfaithful to the husband. Neither one of those things cause domestic violence. I can make you angry at me. And this is what we tell the women when they come. I can make you angry with me, but I can't make you hit me. That's a choice that you make. Yes. So whatever the behaviors are that are going on between men and women, what we encourage, and we don't provide counseling to men. There is a batterers intervention program, which is a part of Miami-Dade County, and it's family and victim services. But they provide counseling to batterers. But what we do say is that anytime there is a problem, then you need to seek counseling for that problem. And battering is definitely not a way to solve any family problem.
Yes. Dr. Shatta, I would like you to talk a little bit about psychological abuse, because initially psychological abuse could lead to further problems within a relationship within a family household. Can you advise our listening audience about ways and means of identifying and trying to control psychological abuse?
Psychological abuse or emotional abuse is usually when a man or any person make comments to belittle the other person, to make them feel they are, like, let's say, if you are stupid, you always do this, you're always making mistakes. Even children, it's the same thing, emotional abuse. Unfortunately, is as bad as physical abuse, and sometimes it's even harder to cure, because it makes the victim, it lower their self-esteem. They believe it after a while of occurrence that it really, you really have to have therapy.
That's a silent killer, isn't it?
It takes a long time to get over it. That no, this was his way of controlling you by telling you you cannot amount this. it take a while for the victim to realize this was his way of controlling her.
Yes.
So unfortunately, is this as bad as, if it's not worse, than physical?
That's what we hear from the women. They tell us that the bruises on their body heal and the broken bones will heal. But the things that person has said to them to make them feel that they are unworthy will never go away. They will always have those memories with them.
It's unfortunate because in our religion, it is totally different the way you treat women. It is mentioned in the Quran and in the saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him. It highly speaks about the way you should have respect and honor for women. Sister Aliyah, would you like to address this, or Sister Sharla?
Well, in Islam, the way we treat each other is addressed. And I don't just say the way the man treats the woman, or the way we treat each other is addressed. And I have reference here to Surah 49 and Ayat 9. And Allah tells us that we as a believer, the community of believers, should make peace. When we see a disagreement or an argument or a fight, it's our responsibility as a community to help those two that are fighting. And once you work with the person and bring things to mind and it still doesn't bring, they're adamant. No, she said it, and she made me, then we as a community should pull together as a unity and fight against the one who's wrong. We don't sit complicit and let it go and say, well, that's their individual family problem. I can't get into that. If you know, for instance, domestic violence is happening, you know it, then as a community, we need to try to get help for that family. And if the individual that's the batterer will not desist and will not stop, then we should fight against that person. We should take action against that person. That's something that Allah tells us in the Quran. And from an Islamic perspective, Islam does not really go along with physical abuse. Many of us say we follow the Sunnah path. We follow the path of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He never hit his wives. He never did that. So if you follow the Prophet, you do not resort to physical abuse.
Brother Sufyan?
Yeah. Thank you, Sister Sarah. Actually, the best solution is to go with our Prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way he used to treat his wife. For example, he used to put the bite in her mouth. If she is sick or she doesn't feel good, he used to work at home. And he's the prophet of the whole Ummah Muhammad. If you really love Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should read about him and read the perfect way he used to deal with his children, the way he used to deal with his wife, the way he used to deal with at his home. It's all the solutions right there. But unfortunately, when you don't have no really faith and you don't respect Allah and you don't respect the Prophet ﷺ, how are you going to respect your wife, and how your wife will respect you? You have to establish first the faith in the iman in your home, and then you have to follow the teaching of the Rasul ﷺ. If you want to call yourself Muslim, you have to establish it first at your home. And as famous hadith, the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, when one of the companions came to him and asked him, advise me, O Prophet, and he told him, لا تغضب, do not get upset. And he asked him again, advise me, O Prophet, and he answered this again, do not get upset. The third time he said again, do not get upset. See, if you get upset, Rasul ﷺ said as a solution for just if you are standing, sit down, and if you are sitting, just lay down, and just go leave home. Actually, it's a solution to just leave home for 5 minutes, go for a walk, or actually we all believe in that. But I hope all of us work for what we believe in. Thank you.
Now, I like to ask my panel the $1 million question, and this is you're all women, and this is for women who are being abused. And I always ask myself the question, why don't they leave? Why don't they just get up and leave? There's some way they can get help out there. There are people who are willing to help them. There's family, there's relatives, there is safe space. There are numbers, 1-800 numbers you can call. Why are they still in these abusive relationships?
You want to start? Many people who are in abusive relationship, they don't want to admit, first of all, that they are in an abusive relationship. If you tell them, they will not probably believe it. So they will see, you sit down with them and explain what the abuse.
They think it is normal?
Well, they know that it is not
or
normal.
Socially acceptable?
No. But they have the feeling, like we talked about before, that perhaps, I triggered it. Yeah, he has some problem, but maybe it's related to gambling, or maybe related to he had a bad day, or alcohol, or whatever else that we talked about. So maybe I'm the problem. He'll be okay. But the many women stay in the relationship because financially they're dependent on the person. They don't feel like they can pull out and be able to support themselves and many times their children. This is one. The second thing is the lack of the self-esteem, like we talked about.
Self-esteem, yes.
If they're being coerced and belittled all for many years, and they believe it that they cannot make it on their own, they cannot handle anything in life alone without the batterer, then they will stay in the relationship. Another instance, they still love the person. I mean, the abuser usually, he alternates his behavior of being abusive, aggressive sometimes, and loving another time. So the woman still will have some love to this person. So it could be several reasons why they stay in relationship. If you want to ask.
Sister Osi.
Well, of course, my question is always, why is it that people ask, why do women stay in the relationship? And why don't they ask, why is this man being abusive to this woman in this relationship? And the bottom line is there are a lot of barriers, as Attila has said, to women leaving a domestic violence relationship. But I think for most people, in terms of their children, what we hear a lot is when the abuse starts focusing in on their children, then they're going to leave because they feel before they love them, they're going to stay in this relationship for economics, all of those reasons why they stay, and they know their standard of living, of course, is going to drop. When she leaves, it drops by 75%. When she's gone, his goes up by 42%, the statistics say.
Yes.
However, when he starts on their kids, then she's going to leave because she wants to protect her children.
Okay.
And that's what we've heard in the shelter.
We have 30 seconds left in the program. Sister Charla, 15 seconds, and Sister Aliyah, 15 seconds, and then we'll close.
In 15 seconds, all I can say is that we need to make it known in the Muslim community as well as the broader community that domestic violence in the home is not acceptable for any reason whatsoever. And there is help available.
Sister Aliyah.
I just like to echo that. I don't think there's anything in a home in a relationship that a woman should be able to do to cause a man to physically abuse her.
Sister Osi, the last number for safe space?
Safe Space North, 758-2546. Safe Space South, 247-4249.
I'd like to thank my panel, Dr. Shatta, Sister Osi Fryer, Sister Charlotte Shahid, and Sister Aliyah Pasha. Thank you very much for appearing on our program. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Coming up next, Imam Warithuddin Muhammad, and he'll be speaking on exercising our faith for business life in our neighborhood. Stay tuned until next week. May the peace and blessings of God be upon each and every one of you. Assalamu alaikum.
The plants and trees, He created the birds and bees, He created the oceans and seas, some of His many bounties. He made us on earth trustees to obey all His decrees. Oh Allah, have mercy, please. Clean away our heart's disease. Jalla Allahu fi ula, ma lana rabbun siwa. Jalla Allahu fi ula, ma lana rabbun siwa. Jalla Allahu fi ula, ma lana rabbun siwa.
Voices of South Florida on News Talk 1080 AM WTPS, the People's Station.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع ما دعا لله داع. Oh, the white moon rose over us from the valley of Wada, and we owe it to show gratefulness where the call is to Allah, where the call is to Allah. أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير دار مرحبا يا خير دار. Oh, you who are amongst us, coming with a word to be obeyed, you have brought to the certain nobleness. Welcome best scholars to God's way. Welcome best scholars to God's